She fled into the billionaire's arms, whispering, "Hide me, please." He held her tight. One desperate whisper changed everything. "Hide me, please," and suddenly, her life was in the hands of a wealthy stranger. Welcome to Emotional Voyage. I'm so glad you're here to share this journey with me. If this content resonates with you, please hit the like button and subscribe. Your support helps me create even deeper, more meaningful videos for our community. Let's navigate these emotions together. The knock didn't come polite. It came sharp, urgent, like it was chased. Julian Cross had just stepped onto the wide porch of his Charleston townhouse, phone still in his hand, when the woman ran straight into him. Not a stumble. Not hesitation. A full collision, palms flat against his chest, breath tearing out of her like she'd been holding it for miles. "Please," she whispered, voice shaking against his shirt. "Hide me." He didn't ask who she was running from. Julian's body answered before his mind did. One arm came around her back, solid and sure, the other guiding her behind him as if she belonged there. He felt the tremor in her shoulders. Felt how light she was. How fast her heart hammered through the thin fabric of her jacket. "You're okay," he said quietly, lowering his chin like this was the most natural thing in the world. "Stay right here." A black SUV rolled past the street slow. Too slow. Julian didn't move. Neither did she. Her fingers curled into the back of his coat, gripping like she might fall through the porch if he let go. The SUV kept going. Only then did her breath finally break. A soft, wrecked sound she tried to swallow. Julian guided her inside without releasing her, closing the heavy door with his foot. The house was quiet, warm wood floors, sunlight slanting through tall windows, the kind of place built for calm. She looked wildly out of place in it. And somehow like she'd always been meant to be there. She pulled back just enough to look at him. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I shouldn't have, I just—" "Hey," he said, gentle but firm. "Sit first. Explain later." She studied his face like she was deciding whether to trust gravity itself. Then she nodded once. "My name's Alana Brooks," she said after a moment, hands wrapped tight around a mug he'd placed in front of her though she hadn't seen him pour it. "I don't usually run into strangers' arms." A corner of his mouth lifted. "Guess that makes today special." She almost smiled. Almost. Outside, Charleston moved on like nothing had happened. Inside, two lives had just shifted. Julian didn't hover. That was the first thing Alana noticed. He moved through the kitchen with an easy confidence, pulling a clean towel from a drawer, setting it beside her without comment. The mug in her hands was warm, not fancy. Tea, not coffee, like he'd paid attention without making it obvious. "You can take your time," he said, leaning against the counter instead of standing over her. "House isn't going anywhere." She nodded, eyes fixed on the steam curling up. Her knee bounced once, twice, then stilled when she pressed her palm against it. Control returned in pieces. "I wasn't being chased," she said finally. "Not like that." Julian didn't interrupt. He just listened. "I recognized the man in the SUV," she continued. "From a place I worked before. He wasn't supposed to be there. When I saw him again this morning, something felt wrong." She swallowed. Her fingers tightened around the mug. "I didn't want to find out what." Julian pushed off the counter and walked to the window, checking the street without drama. The SUV was gone. He drew the curtain anyway. "You did the right thing," he said. She looked up at him then. Really looked. He didn't dress like someone who needed to prove anything. Simple shirt, well-fitted jacket, watch worn smooth like it had stories. The house told the rest of it. The quiet kind of money. The kind that bought peace, not noise. "You live alone?" she asked. "Most of the time." That answer carried weight. Space. Choice. She nodded again, breathing easier now. "I'll call my mama in a bit. I just needed a minute before I explain things to anyone who loves me." "I get that," he said. Take all the minutes you need. The front gate clicked softly as it locked itself. Subtle. Automatic. Secure. She noticed. You don't even know me, she said. Julian met her gaze, steady. I know you were scared. That's enough for now. Something in her shoulders loosened at that. She set the mug down, hands finally still. Thank you, she said, quiet but certain, for not making me feel small. He shook his head once. You didn't come in here small. Their eyes held a beat longer than necessary. Outside, the city kept breathing. Inside, trust began doing the same. If someone protected you without asking for anything in return, would you let yourself stay? Tell me in the comments, should Alana open up more, or keep her guard up a little longer? Julian's phone buzzed once on the counter. He ignored it. Alana noticed anyway. The way the screen lit up with a string of missed calls. The way he flipped it face down without even glancing at the name. That told her more than the house did. You're not worried? She asked. He met her eyes. About the phone? No. That answer came fast. So did you running into my arms, he said gently. Some moments don't wait for permission. Her lips parted, then curved despite herself. It was the first real smile since she'd arrived. It softened her face, warmed something in his chest he hadn't expected to feel before noon. She stood and walked toward the tall window, peering through the sheer curtain. Her reflection hovered beside his in the glass. Two strangers framed together like they'd been placed that way on purpose. I work in crisis management, she said. For companies that pretend nothing's wrong until it is. Julian arched a brow. That explains the instincts. And the running, she added. He stepped closer, not touching. Leaving space. But the air shifted anyway. I'm in real estate, he said. Commercial. Long-term holds. She glanced around the house again, really seeing it this time. The art on the walls wasn't loud. The furniture wasn't staged. Everything had weight and history. Charleston's expensive, she said. So is peace, he replied. That earned him a quiet laugh. The sound lingered between them. A car passed outside. Alana's body reacted before her mind, shoulders tensing, breath hitching. Julian moved without thinking, positioning himself just slightly in front of her. Not blocking. Shielding. She noticed. I don't need a bodyguard, she said, though her voice softened at the edges. Good, he said. Because I don't work for hire. Her gaze dropped to his hands. Strong. Steady. The kind that built things meant to last. She took a breath. I can't stay long. He nodded. Then we won't pretend this is forever. Something unspoken settled in that space. Honest. Clean. Would you like to sit in the garden for a bit? He asked. It's quieter out back. She hesitated, just a second, then nodded. Okay. They stepped outside together, spring air wrapping around them. Jasmine climbed the fence. Somewhere nearby, church bells marked the hour without announcing a date. Alana tilted her face toward the sun, eyes closed for a brief moment. Funny, she said. I ran in scared. And now, I don't want to leave. Julian watched her, feeling the same pull, the same impossible shift. Maybe, he said carefully, this is where something starts. She looked at him then, really looked, and the moment stretched, humming with possibility neither of them named. When chemistry shows up uninvited, do you listen? Or walk away? Comment below, should Julian take the lead next, or let Alana decide the pace? Julian didn't call it a date. He called it lunch. They sat at a small table on the back patio, plates simple, food warm, nothing staged for impression. He'd ordered it in without asking what she liked, and somehow still got it right. Grilled fish. Roasted vegetables. Bread torn by hand, not sliced. You do this often? Alana asked, breaking a piece of bread. Eat, he said. Daily. She laughed, shaking her head. No. Open your home to strangers. He met her eyes. You stopped being one the moment you trusted me. That gave her pause. She chewed slowly, thinking. My mama would tell me to be careful, she said. She raised me to know that kindness doesn't always come clean. And did she teach you to recognize it when it does? Yes, Alana said without hesitation. The gate chimed softly as a courier dropped something by the side entrance. Julian stood, checked it, and came back with a slim folder instead of a package. He didn't hide it. Didn't open it either. Just slid it under his chair with practiced ease. Work? She asked. Always, he said. But it can wait an hour. She studied him then. The way his attention stayed where it landed. The way he didn't look at his phone again. You're wealthy, she said plainly. He didn't flinch. Yes. No apology. No brag. Just truth. That make you uncomfortable? No, she said. But it does mean I won't pretend this is something it's not. He leaned back, considering. Which is? A moment, she said. Maybe more. But not a rescue. His mouth curved. Good. I don't rescue grown women. Smart man. Their eyes held. The air warmed. She wiped her fingers, then met his gaze again. I'm not ready to explain everything yet. He nodded. Then I'm not ready to ask. That settled something in her chest. She reached for her water, then stopped, fingers brushing his when he reached at the same time. Neither pulled away right away. It wasn't a spark. It was a slow burn. Julian cleared his throat first. If you decide you want to leave later, I'll have my driver take you wherever you need to go. She raised a brow. Driver. He smiled faintly. I told you. Wealth. She considered, then nodded. Okay. But only because I want to arrive calm, not impressed. Deal. They finished eating as the sun shifted, shadows stretching across the garden. It felt like something balanced on the edge of becoming. Alana stood, smoothing her jacket. Lunch was unexpected. Julian held her gaze. So were you. She smiled then, soft, open. I think, she said, I'd like to see you again. On purpose. He didn't hide his answer. I'd like that too. When two people agree not to pretend, does that make the connection stronger? Tell me, should their next meeting be planned, or spontaneous? They didn't text every hour. That was what surprised Alana most. Julian sent one message the next morning. Simple. Hope you got home easy. Nothing else. No pressure. No follow-up question disguised as politeness. She replied after her morning meeting. I did. Thank you for yesterday. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Then, would you like dinner tonight? No expectations. She stared at the screen longer than she meant to. Yes, she typed. But I picked the place. His reply came quick. I like that. They met at a quiet spot near the water, the kind of restaurant locals guarded like a secret. Julian arrived early. Alana saw him before he saw her, standing at the railing, jacket off, sleeves rolled, watching the tide like it was thinking back at him. When he turned, his face changed. Not dramatically. Just enough. You look settled, he said. I feel that way tonight, she replied. Temporary, but real. Dinner unfolded easily. Laughter slid in between conversations that mattered. She talked about growing up with a mama who worked 2 jobs and still made Sundays feel sacred. He talked about building wealth slowly, carefully, after learning what instability cost. No speeches. Just truths laid gently on the table. Afterward, they walked. The night air was warm, the kind that carried sound and memory. When they stopped, it wasn't planned. The space between them simply closed. Julian lifted a hand, hesitated, then brushed his knuckles against hers. Question, not claim. She answered by turning her palm over. The kiss came slow, unrushed. His hand warm at her waist, steady, like it belonged there but knew better than to assume. Her breath caught once, then evened out as she leaned in. It wasn't fire. It was alignment. When they pulled back, her forehead rested briefly against his chest. She didn't move right away. "I should go," she said softly. He didn't argue. "I know." But he didn't step away either. He pressed a kiss to her hair instead. Protective. Careful. As he walked her to her car, she paused before opening the door. "This," she said, gesturing between them, "doesn't make my life simpler." Julian smiled. "Worth complicated?" She met his gaze, eyes steady now. "Ask me again tomorrow." He watched her drive away, something unfamiliar settling in his chest. Not possession. Hope. When a kiss feels like clarity instead of chaos, do you follow it? Comment, should they slow down next, or lean into what's already happening? The call came while Alana was reviewing notes at her kitchen table. Not unknown. Not blocked. A number she hadn't saved, but hadn't forgotten either. She let it ring once. Twice. Then answered. "Alana Brooks," she said, voice steady. "Ms. Brooks," the man replied, polite in the way that never meant kindness. "We need to talk. Face to face." She closed her notebook slowly. "About what?" "About why you left your last firm," he said. "And why you ran yesterday." Her grip tightened on the phone. "I didn't run from you." A pause. Calculated. "I think you did." She ended the call without another word, chest tight but spine straight. Then she stood and paced once, twice, before doing something she hadn't done in years. She called Julian. He answered on the first ring. "Hey. I need to tell you something," she said. "And I don't want you to fix it." "I'm listening," he replied. They met an hour later at his place. Alana stood the entire time she talked. Explained the firm she'd left after uncovering things that weren't supposed to surface. Explained the quiet pressure. The man in the SUV. The call. Julian didn't interrupt. When she finished, he walked to the window, hands in his pockets, jaw tight, not with anger but calculation. "He crossed a line," Julian said. "He wants me to think he didn't," she replied. "That's the problem." Julian turned back to her. "I have resources." She held up a hand. "And I have boundaries." That stopped him. "I won't be hidden behind your money," she said calmly. "If I accept help, it's on terms I can stand behind." He nodded once. "Respect, not retreat." "Then we do this your way," he said. "But you don't do it alone." She considered him. Then nodded. "Okay." That word meant more than the first yes she'd given him. Later, as she prepared to leave, she paused at the door. "If this gets messy." "It already is," Julian said. "And I'm still here." She smiled, small but certain. "Good." As she drove off, Julian made a call of his own. Quiet. Controlled. Protective without crossing the line she'd drawn. Some complications didn't break connections. They tested them. When help comes with respect instead of control, is it easier to accept? Tell me, should Alana confront the threat head-on, or move carefully and gather proof? Alana chose daylight for the meeting. A busy cafe in Savannah, all clatter and sunlight and people who didn't look twice at anyone. She picked the table near the window, back straight, phone face down. Calm on the outside. Focused on the inside. The man arrived late. He smiled like time bent for him. "You always did like exits," he said, sliding into the chair across from her. "And you always liked control," she replied. "That hasn't changed either." He leaned back, studying her. "You left without signing what you were supposed to." "I left because I wasn't willing to be complicit." "That word again," he said, amused. "You don't have proof." She met his gaze. I have enough. His smile thinned. Enough to make life uncomfortable. Not enough to win. Alana didn't flinch. She sipped her coffee, slow. Let the silence work. You've been seen, he continued, with someone who has influence. Money. She set the cup down. You followed me. I noticed you. That's not better. Across the cafe, a server laughed too loudly. Normal life continued. You don't want this kind of attention, he said. It's easier to come back. Finish quietly. Alana stood. I don't finish quietly anymore. He rose too, just enough to invade space. Be careful. She leaned in then, voice low, steady. I am. She walked out without waiting for a response. That night, Julian didn't ask how it went. He opened the door, took one look at her face, and pulled her into his arms. She didn't resist. Her hands fisted into his shirt, breath shaking once before evening out. They know about you, she murmured. He pressed his cheek to her hair. Let them. She pulled back just enough to look at him. I won't let you be collateral. Julian's eyes didn't waver. You won't. They sat on the couch afterward, close but not touching much. Tension hummed under everything. Not fear. Resolve. Whatever comes next, she said. I choose it. Julian nodded. So do I. Outside, night settled heavy and quiet. Somewhere between the threat and the truth, the line between them had shifted. This wasn't just attraction anymore. It was alignment under pressure. When standing your ground costs comfort, do you still hold it? Comment, should Julian step in more forcefully now, or stay behind Alana's lead? The envelope arrived without a return address. Julian found it tucked beneath the front gate when he came home just after dusk. Thick paper. Heavy. Intentional. He didn't open it right away. He stood there for a moment, listening to the house settle, then carried it inside like it might speak if he let it. Alana was in the kitchen, sleeves rolled, rinsing greens at the sink. Domestic. Ordinary. The kind of scene that made him pause. Mail? She asked, glancing back. Something like that, he said. He set the envelope on the counter between them. She dried her hands slowly before opening it. Inside were copies, old emails, internal memos, signatures she recognized. Her name threaded through them like a quiet warning. At the bottom, a note in neat print. You weren't wrong. But you're not finished. Her breath caught. Not fear, recognition. They kept records, she said. Off books. I didn't know where. Julian watched her carefully. This confirms everything you said. And more, she replied. She slid one page toward him. That development you acquired outside Asheville? The shell company tied to it. He scanned it once. Then again. His jaw set. It intersects, she said softly. Not directly. But close enough they could try to drag you into it. Or threaten to. Silence filled the kitchen. Not heavy. Focused. Julian exhaled. So this is the leverage. Yes, she said. And now you see why I ran. He looked at her then, not as someone to shield, but as someone standing in the same storm. He reached for her hand, grounding, not possessive. We don't hide, he said. We document. We get ahead of it. She nodded. I already started. That surprised him. Not because he doubted her, but because he admired the calm in her preparation. I won't ask you to step back, she added. But I won't step behind you either. He smiled once, tight but real. Good. Because this just became ours. Later that night, as they sat side by side going through files, her head rested briefly on his shoulder. Not exhaustion. Trust. Outside, the wind shifted. So did the stakes. When truth puts two people on the same side of the fire, does it make the bond stronger, or more dangerous? Tell me, should they take this information public next, or prepare quietly for what's coming. The silence came first. Not the peaceful kind. This one pressed in, thick and watchful. Julian noticed it when 3 calls went straight to voicemail. Alana noticed it when her mama didn't answer her morning check-in. They met in the living room without saying hello. "Something's wrong," Alana said, already reaching for her bag. Julian nodded. "My attorney just backed out." No explanation. That was the moment the weight shifted. Not danger, exposure. They drove to Savannah in separate cars, on Alana's insistence. "If they're watching," she said, "we don't give them a picture." Julian hated it. Let her go alone. Let her shoulder this without his shadow. But he agreed. Because this was what respect looked like now. The house where her mama lived was fine. Porch light on. Curtains drawn just so. Too calm. Inside, her mama sat at the kitchen table, hands folded tight, a cup of tea gone cold. "They came by," her mama said. Polite men. Smiles that didn't reach their eyes. Alana dropped to her knees beside her chair, gripping her hands. "Did they threaten you?" "They implied," her mama replied. "I told them my daughter was grown and didn't scare easy." Alana closed her eyes, breath shuddering once. Later, alone in the car, she finally broke. Tears slid down without sound. Anger followed close behind. Julian called. She didn't answer. Not because she didn't trust him. Because she didn't want him dragged deeper. When he showed up anyway, standing in the driveway like a man who refused to be kept out, she turned on him. "You don't get to fix this," she said, voice shaking. "You don't get to be the shield for my family." "I'm not trying to be," he said quietly. "I'm trying to be with you." "That's the same thing right now," she shot back. "And it's dangerous." Silence stretched. Hard. Painful. Julian stepped back. Not in retreat, in acceptance. "Then I'll wait," he said. "Right here. Or wherever you tell me." Her shoulders sagged. The fight drained out, leaving fear and love tangled too tight to separate. "This is the part where people walk away," she whispered. He shook his head once. "This is the part where I stay." But that night, she asked him to leave anyway. And as he drove back alone, Julian realized something terrifying. Loving her might cost him everything. And he wasn't sure she'd let him pay that price. When protecting someone means stepping away, is it still love? Comment below, should Alana let Julian stand beside her, or face this alone to protect him? The morning light in Charleston was soft, almost forgiving. Julian's townhouse smelled faintly of jasmine from the garden outside, the same scent that had settled around them the first time she'd stepped inside. Alana stood on the front steps, arms crossed, tension in every line of her body. She had spent the night thinking, planning, bracing for the next move. She hadn't expected Julian to be there. "I didn't wait," he said simply, stepping onto the porch. "I'm not asking for permission this time. I'm asking for partnership." She raised a brow. "Partnership?" Julian reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, velvet box. She froze. "Not that kind," he said quickly, seeing her expression shift. "Yet. This is the only key to my office upstairs." Alana blinked. "The office?" "Yes," he said. "I've been preparing documents, securing assets, tracing threats. I want you to see everything. Not as a guest. As someone I trust. As someone I choose to face this with." Her chest tightened. The gesture wasn't flashy. No grandeur, no wealth parade. It was trust. It was inclusion. She hesitated for a heartbeat. "Julian, this is necessary," he said. "I won't hide things. I won't make choices without you anymore." She swallowed. The walls she'd held so tightly for weeks trembled. Fear mingled with something else. Relief. A sense of being seen. I accept," she whispered finally. "But only if it's truly partnership." He smiled faintly, not cocky, not arrogant. Just sure. It is. They stepped inside together. Julian handed her the key. Her fingers brushed his. The contact lingered longer than necessary, full of unspoken words and promises. Later, they reviewed the plans, strategies, and risks side by side. Alana's heart felt lighter, not because the danger had vanished, but because she wasn't carrying it alone. Outside, Charleston moved on, oblivious. Inside, two hearts had realigned. When someone offers complete trust instead of protection, do you accept or hold back? Comment, would you step into someone else's world like Alana did, or keep your distance until the storm passes? Alana stepped onto the garden path, sunlight spilling across the early morning dew. Julian was already there, hands in his pockets, watching the roses sway. Something in the way he stood, steady, patient, made her chest lift, even though the tension of the past days still clung to her. "You came," she said, half statement, half question. "I always do," he replied, voice calm but filled with weight. "I don't let fear decide for us." Her lips pressed together. She wanted to say 100 things at once. Thanks, sorry, I was scared, I trust you. But instead she let her gaze meet his. Words weren't necessary. The space between them was enough. He stepped closer. The air carried the faint scent of cedar and jasmine, the kind that clung to memories long after the moment passed. "You're safe," he murmured, one hand brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "And I'm not going anywhere." Alana exhaled slowly, letting her defenses fall. She reached up, resting her hands against his chest. "I believe you," she said softly. Julian's eyes softened. "Then believe this too, we face this together. Every step." And with that, their hands found each other, fingers entwined naturally, seamlessly. No hesitation. No question. Just alignment. "Why now?" she asked, voice almost playful, though her heart raced. "Because I realized something," he said, tilting his head. "Life's too short to stand back when what matters is right in front of you." Alana's chest tightened, not with fear this time. With certainty. He lowered himself to one knee without breaking eye contact. Her breath caught before she realized what was happening. "Alana Brooks," Julian said, voice steady but full of emotion, "I don't just want to protect you. I want to choose you, every day. Will you marry me?" Tears welled, not from panic, but from relief, from hope, from the kind of love that had fought through danger and doubt to reach this point. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes." He rose, slipping the ring onto her finger, and pulled her into a hug that spoke louder than words. Outside, the roses swayed. Inside, two hearts had sealed their promise. When love has weathered fear and obstacles, is saying yes the easiest choice, or the bravest? Comment, what would you do if someone risked everything to choose you like Julian did? The wedding wasn't extravagant. No crystal chandeliers or over-the-top floral arches. It was sunlight, soft breeze, and the people who mattered most. Charleston's historic garden set the scene, roses in bloom, ivy climbing the old brick walls, birds trilling above as if they knew a vow was about to be spoken. Alana stood at the garden gate, her hands gripping the bouquet just enough to steady herself. Julian appeared at the aisle, tailored suit simple yet perfect, his gaze fixed on her like nothing else existed. Time slowed. She walked forward, each step steady, heart racing, and when their hands met at the altar, it felt like coming home after a journey neither had expected but both had longed for. "Alana Brooks," Julian began, voice calm but unwavering. "From the moment you ran into my arms, I knew some moments don't wait for permission. Today, I choose you. In every storm, in every calm, I choose you." Her eyes glistened. "Julian Cross, you've been my anchor, my shield, and my partner. I choose you too. Today, tomorrow, always." They slipped the rings onto each other's fingers. A gentle kiss sealed the vow, soft yet certain, tender yet full of all the battles they had faced together. The fear, the trust, the connection that had grown in shadowed corners and bright gardens alike. Friends and family cheered, but for them, it was a quiet celebration of survival and love, of alignment under pressure, and of a promise that neither circumstance nor threat could break. Later, as the sun began its descent, Julian pulled Alana close on the veranda. She rested her head against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "Do you ever regret running into me?" he asked softly. She shook her head, smiling against his shirt. "Never. That day, that moment, it changed everything." "And now," he murmured. "Now," she said, lifting her face, "we face everything together. Always." He kissed her forehead, then her lips. Not a fleeting kiss, one that spoke of beginnings, endurance, and forever. The city hummed quietly beyond the garden walls, but inside, love had its own rhythm. One built on trust, courage, and the certainty that the arms you run into can become the home you never knew you needed. When love survives fear, danger, and uncertainty, does it feel more like destiny or choice? Comment: have you ever taken a leap of faith in love, and did it change your life like it did Julian and Alana's?
Thank you for listening to this journey of love, loss, and finding family in unexpected places. Share your own story of unexpected blessings in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching till the end. It truly means a lot to me. If this video touched your heart or resonated with you in any way, please show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing to Emotional Voyage. Your support helps us reach more souls on this journey. Until next time, take care of your heart.